Hello, fifth graders! I'm so excited you guys are here. We are going to play with fraction circles in this station. So find a set of fraction circles. And what I want you to do, I believe there are 6 different colors. I want you to pause my video. We're going to do a lot of pause and play. And I want you to put all these circles together. So pause and put all your pieces together so you have 6 circles. Boom! I am a magician. You should have 6 holes. 6 holes. So what we're going to do now, if you look at this, you have 1 hole. You have 2 pieces that make a hole. We call these halves. You have 3 pieces that make a hole. We call these thirds. 4 pieces that make a hole. These are, what are they called? Fourths. You got it. And to make a hole here, we have 6 pieces. And remember, when we do fractions, our denominator, which is that bottom number is going to be how many pieces it takes to make a hole. So here, my hole is a circle, and it takes 6 pieces to make a hole. So that would always be my bottom number. And then finally, you should have noticed you have eighths. So what we're going to do is I want you to go ahead and make halves for me. Halves using some of these, and some will work and some will not. So I want you to pause and then come back and see if you got the same halves as me. Go. All right, welcome back. You should have had a half here. Thirds won't work for halves. You should have noticed that 2 of these make a half. 3 of these make a half, and 4 of these make a half. Grab your marker. We're going to write these as fractions. So this, we had 1 piece out of 2 pieces it took to make a whole. So my denominator is 2. On this one, our numerator is how many pieces we actually have, and then our denominator was how many pieces it took to make a whole. Do you remember? We had 4 pieces there to make a whole. On this one, how many pieces do we have to make a half? We have 3. But total to make a whole, there were how many pieces? You got it. There were 6. And then finally, we have 4 pieces out of a total to make a whole, 8. So remember, that denominator is how many same size pieces does it take to make a whole. Now, we call all of these equivalent fractions because they are the same size value. Every single one of these has the same value, the same amount, and it is half. Now, to get an equivalent fraction, obviously it's not realistic in math to make a model every time. So what you can do, if I said, hey, give me an equivalent fraction to 1/2, I could take this number and I could multiply it by any number I want, anything. Let's say 3. If I multiply the bottom by 3 in a fraction, to be equivalent, I have to also multiply the top by 3. Can you write this down with me? So 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. So 3/6 is equal to 1/2. And you know this because we modeled it here. Again, I could do the same thing if you said, hey, give me a fraction equivalent to 3/6, which we know is 1/2. I could say, okay, well, how about I multiply the top by, I don't know, what do you think? 3, 4, 5, anything you want. If I multiply the top by 3, I get 9. And if I want an equivalent fraction, I also have to multiply the bottom by 3. And I get 6 times 3 is 18. If you think about it, 9 is half of 18. So that is an equivalent fraction for half. Go ahead and erase your board. And we're going to do one more equivalent fraction. Could you pull a third for me? Find a third. Let's see. You should have grabbed an orange. An orange is 1/3. Could you find one more set of tiles that equals 1/3 but is not orange? Go ahead and pause. Okay, coming back, you should have picked the light blue. That is the only other one that equals a third. Because look, I could take the third and put it on top. So my question is, what are these equivalent fractions? Well, this fraction, for the orange, grab your marker, is one piece out of how many pieces does it take to make a whole? Well, remember, if I had my orange pieces here, it would take 3 pieces to make a whole. But I just have 1 out of 3 pieces. On my light blue, to make a third, see how these are the same size? It takes how many pieces? Well, it takes 2 pieces. Out of how many light blues did it take to make a whole? Oh, and of course, I probably lost a light blue. Typical Mrs. McSorley. Oh, I got it on the floor. I know you're probably going to drop some today, but I trust you to put it all back. So it takes 6 of those pieces to make a whole, but here we just have 2 6. So these are equivalent. 1/3 is equivalent, 2 6 is equivalent. Well, how do I know that? Well, technically, if I wanted a fraction equivalent to 1/3, I could multiply the top by 2. 1 times 2 is 2. And if I multiply the top by 2, I also have to multiply the bottom by 2. And then I get 6, and look at that, 2 6 and 2 6, those are equal. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to dabble in adding fractions. And adding fractions can be a little tricky, so we're going to just look at it with the manipulatives. Go ahead and erase your board, and then I promise later I'm going to give you a little trick to make it a little easier on you. Okay? So let's start with halves. So what I want you to do, take your dry erase marker, and we're going to start with 1/2, and we're going to label it as 1/2. Just like that. Go ahead and make that for me. And if you need to pause, if I'm going too fast, just pause. Plus, I want you to make me 2/4, and then see if you can figure out that answer. So go ahead, grab your tiles, see if you can make me 2/4 here, and then model for me what the answer would be. Go ahead and pause. Okay, welcome back. So 2/4, you should have grabbed 2 of the yellows, because this is 2 pieces, and remember the denominator is 4, because to get a whole, I would need 4 of these total, okay? And so now when you look at that, you would think, if I'm going to model this, this is really 1/2 plus 1/2, which should have equaled 1 whole. Or you might have put 4/4 equals 1 whole. Now notice when we model that, I can very easily see that this is a whole, and that would have been okay if you did a full red too as a whole. But when we add fractions, look, this is crazy. So you agree with me that this is 4/4, right? Because technically it's like this. Because technically this was equal to 1/2, right? But notice when we did this, let me put that back, you cannot just add the 1 and the 3 and the 2 and the 4. You cannot do that with fractions. It doesn't work. I think we all can agree right now that this 1/2 plus 2/4 is a whole. But how do I get that, right? So that's what I'm going to be teaching you later. But the thing I need you to know now that is when you add, you have to add same size pieces. Meaning our denominators have to be the same. Or you can't add. You can't do it. So I got to get this denominator out of 4. And so if I thought about this, and I said, well, this 1/2 is really 2/4. I could now easily add these together because they're the same size pieces, and I know it's a whole. So listen, Mrs. McSorley is going to teach this to you later. But today, the whole purpose of this station was I really just wanted you to play a little bit. I wanted you to play, and I wanted you to kind of see how this goes. So if you have more time, we'll do one more. And if you don't have more time, then you need to clean up your pieces and get ready to move to the next station. Just depends how long your stations are taken. So we'll do one more here. So let's go 2/8 plus 1/4. And I want you to go ahead and pause and model this with your fraction pieces. Okay, so welcome back. You should have done 2/8 plus 1/4. And if I model that answer together, that makes 1/2. Or, because I keep telling you you need same size pieces, it could be 4/8, which is 1/2, or 2/4. Again, I'm going to teach you how to do this, but I wanted you to kind of understand that when we're adding, we're really just sliding that over. It's a lot easier with manipulatives. Okay, I think it's time to clean up. You did good work today. So grab your container, and we're going to, it's kind of going to be satisfying, okay? You know I'm not very neat, but we're going to be neat. So we're going to put our hole in there. Then grab your thirds. As we're putting these in, think about how these fractions are perfect. All the pieces are the same size. When we do fractions, grab your fourths. All the pieces in that denominator are all the same size. And then I'm going to keep going. Oops, I forgot to put my hands in there. So go ahead, and if it's not in the perfect order, that's okay. That's okay. And thank you for participating. I hope you had fun kind of playing with the fraction tiles. And put my ace away. Go ahead and finish. And I will talk to you soon.